Welcome to TSP Weekly.
Do you want to do it? No, okay. No, it's all good. Well, whatever. Okay, here we go. Hey, everyone. Welcome to TSP Weekly. This is a special Startup Weekend edition of TSP Weekly. We're here at University of Guelph in, I don't know what this room is, the physics room or something in the library?
The McLaughlin Library.
Yeah. They have, it's probably the most beautiful library I've ever been in my life, having not been in many libraries.
Reading the glass backwards, it says it's the Physics Learning Center.
Right, right. Excellent.
The McLaughlin Library. Third floor.
This is all very important information for our listeners, of course.
So come find us.
So here we are.
Find us 3 weeks ago.
That's right.
What the heck? Who is that, Darren?
Well, let's do some introductions here, and we'll start with our mystery co-host.
Dun, dun, dun.
We have Amaris, who needs no last name. We all know Amaris when we say Amaris. Amaris, you might have heard on the podcast previously, representing Hacker Nest, one of the many hats that she wears in life. She also works at Magna Forensics, doing all things promotional, and I don't know, I feel like you're always just shaking hands on behalf of Magnet. No?
It's totally not my job, but that's cool.
What do you do? Tell us what
Community
you do.
Relations Coordinator.
Oh, right.
That basically means I go to stuff.
CRC. Yeah.
And Amaris is a graduate of the University of Guelph and
And?
an alumni to the Startup Weekend Guelph.
That's right.
Yeah, you were here last year?
Well, I was, but I was a
2 years ago?
volunteer. I didn't participate.
Okay.
You got
So,
the
yeah,
shirt.
I got the
That
shirt.
counts for
That
something.
counts. That's
Yeah.
All that counts, that's right.
I got the food in the shirt.
So here we are at Startup Weekend Guelph.
Yeah, and what we hope to do over the course of this podcast is give you, our listeners, an idea of what Startup Weekend is all about. These Startup Weekend events happen all over the world in many different cities. I think there's like 8 or 9 going on right now as we speak in other parts of the world. And I've been to 2. Amaris has been to 1 at least as a volunteer. I think this is Stephen's first one.
Yep.
But they're really amazing events. A lot of potential for amazing things to happen over the course of one of these startup weekends. And if we can encourage any of you to get involved in events like this, then I think we have done our job well.
So to set the stage a little bit for you, we have sort of 30 people here or so tonight. A little mix of students. Most of them look like they're employed.
Yep. Lots
We're
of pizza.
Just taking a break right now. We're about to do some pitches. We did some sort of mingling and icebreakers.
Yep. Kind of practice pitch / brainstorming session to get people in the mood. Heard some interesting ideas come out of that 5-minute brainstorming session. What was the one with the elephants?
Yes, the
it was like
elephant.
It was like Tinder for the
Large
rotund people.
It was magnetic elephant.
Yes,
And it was
right.
for large
individuals.
love. Large love. I think it was large love.
People who
Like
have people where there's a lot of them to love. It's like a dating site for people of that persuasion.
Yes, elephants.
Lots of crazy ideas, and we're about to hear the actual real pitches. Typically how these weekends work is on the Friday night, people take a minute each to pitch some ideas, and then there's a voting process that goes on, and eventually the group coalesces into a bunch of different teams, maybe between 5 and 10 different teams of 3 or 4 people, maybe 5 people each. And right now we're waiting for the pitches to start.
So once they form their teams tonight, they'll hear a couple pitches. They'll all coalesce around the best one or several. Tomorrow, sort of from 9 till whenever, we get back here and we're offered some mentors.
Yep.
The teams will be hacking all day, trying to come up with an MVP, which is a minimum viable product. Sunday, we're going to see some pitches, and Darren is on a battleship on Sunday. He's
I'm
entrepreneurially, virtually on a battleship.
Yeah.
What are you doing
I'm doing a showcase for our demo app for our virtual reality app that I'm involved in building, and it's a VR tour of a World War II battleship. It sounds cooler than I'm describing it. I mean, no, it is cooler than it sounds. I obviously have had too much orange pops tonight. But anyway.
Are you cutting yourself off from soda already?
Yeah, I think I need to.
Yeah.
It's past my bedtime at this point anyway.
Yeah, one tweet over the line.
Wow.
This is when you have two young kids under the age of 5, your bedtime comes
it's a
early.
late night for TSP Weekly.
But anyway,
tell
guys,
them all about hackathons. This is a hackathon lifestyle.
It is. And you were mentioning, Amaris, that this is a little different than typical hackathon events.
It is. There's a lot more business and marketing focus. A hackathon is really about what can you code really fast, and while it's great that you can come up with a product, it's not necessarily a company, it's usually just a product. This is all about coming up with a company, so that will mean marketing material for it and a proper pitch.
Mm-hmm. And a certain amount of market validation, I think, too.
For sure,
right,
market validation is a big thing. Yeah, this is more about a business. It's like a hackathon for businesses versus a hackathon, which we're used to, is really about coming up with a product or an app or some sort of item.
Yeah, something
one of the
you
guys
can show.
Was talking about looking for a co-founder tonight, which was kind of cool. And then one of the other questions we had was somebody wanting to hack past midnight, sort of all night. So we were directed to some local coffee shops for that. I think we're getting kicked out of the library at midnight.
Yeah, something like that. And, events like this are really great for meeting potential co-founders because you're gathering together with a group of like-minded people who are willing to give up a whole weekend to pursue something entrepreneurial. And typically you have, a good kind of smattering of talent, whether that be developers, designers, engineers, business people, marketers. It's a great kind of mix. And I'm one of the guys that I'm working on a startup with myself. He was actually one of the mentors at one of the startup weekends I was involved with in the past, and we're working on a project together. So I would highly recommend to anybody who's thinking of trying something like this out to go and check it out. But I
met David, who's one of our organizers for HackerNest at last year's Startup Weekend. I encouraged a bunch of people to come out to that. One guy who was here through the company that he designed at Startup Weekend Guelph, he took off to San Francisco.
Wow, amazing.
One of the winners from last year was the Custom Tea Company, is that right?
That is the winner.
That was the winner.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to get into the pitches here in a minute or two, so we should probably wrap up this segment for now, but we'll be back after the pitches maybe to talk about some of the interesting ones or not so interesting ones and see how that goes.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
Great.
We'll be back. Wow. Those were some cool pictures. We heard several that were the same.
Or very, very similar. I'm surprised by how many food and clothing related ideas there are here.
It was just kind of like, I'm so overwhelmed with having to make the same choice every day. Make it easier for me.
Yeah, but
it's
that's
like efficiency stuff, right?
I'm really glad someone said it's like LinkedIn.
Right.
But something else. I just love all pitches that start with it's like Tinder or LinkedIn. Those are my favorite.
Facebook for cats.
Yeah, Facebook for cats.
Is that out there?
Whatever it is.
Facebook for dogs.
I think that's the example that everybody uses for apps that are never actually going to make it. But
I thought that was one of your other ideas was Facebook for cats.
No, I don't have a cat.
Right now, everybody is voting on their favorite. They're mingling. They're holding up their posters. They're walking around with red stickers.
Yeah, to stick on and vote which ones they like.
So let's do a virtual sticker.
Yeah, while they're doing that, let's throw out a few of these ideas that were just pitched. Maybe we can give like the 5-second version of each one.
Sure.
We've got somebody talking about doing machine learning for predicting user behavior in apps.
A program that predicts the future, the Surely.
Apparently, yeah. A mobile app that learns your eating habits and makes suggestions for you. I think that's not actually a bad idea.
The lazy cook.
Yep. Something about keeping your food fresh with liquids from plants.
Can we just say that came from a high school student?
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's awesome.
That's amazing.
And can I say, when I participated in my first Startup Weekend, I had a high school student on my team who was a coder, and he was incredible. And he got hired at D2L, one of the bigger tech companies in Kitchener, out of high school. Right out of high school. Anyway.
Yeah, hers was called Clean Scent.
Right.
And it's plant smell that's fighting bacteria.
Apparently that's a thing. Who would have thought?
I like it.
We saw a mobile app for letting you know what's going on around Guelph here as far as like happy hours, discounted wing nights, things like that. I've actually many times wished for that. We usually went out for lunch. I'm like, what place around here has a lunch deal that I'm going to enjoy? And I don't have any app that tells me that without trying to do a complicated Google search on the topic.
You need in the know.
Apparently I do. Something about Guelph Bike Share.
That was the first pitch.
Right.
Bike exchange.
Which is a very Guelph thing, and I'm surprised there isn't that already, but I don't know if the city's large enough to sustain that. They'll figure that out tomorrow.
I guess so. At least with the university students, maybe they'll get into the bike stuff. There's an app for like life management, so doing tasks, tracking your tasks, and I guess helping you do your to-do list more efficiently. can't imagine that there's something like that out there already.
Yeah, this was like Highlander. There can be only one instead of all the different myriad of tasks and stuff. He just wants one Life OS was the name of this product.
I'm sure every other app that does this
would love to be the one.
Claimed to be that when they first came out too. There was another app, another food-based app that was talking about recommending foods for you based on your mood or your situation that day.
Yes, I'm feeling gloomy and I need dinner, so I eat some oysters on the half shell.
Whatever it might be, yeah.
That was called Recipe for Me.
I think it was like, if it suggests like pizza or eating like...
It was comfort food-based, right? He used the example, if you're sad, it'll suggest...
Like eat a tub of ice cream by yourself.
Yeah.
Ice cream and brownies.
It should give you a little warning, though. Like, you'll feel great while you eat it, but you'll feel horrible.
You're going to get
fat. That's right. It wasn't a nutrition-based app. There was one guy who wanted to build a combat suit for tracking kind of analytics for combat-based sports, so boxing or martial arts. And
where you've been hit, where you've been kicked, how many kicks,
what velocity. It's kind of a great idea.
How hard.
That sounded pretty neat.
It sounds cool. I think it would be really hard to build, but...
Very hard to build.
Yeah, but, if you can do it, it'd be cool.
We had something called Key Spree. That was like location-based marketing, or...
Yeah, something about getting small businesses to be able to market to people nearby, local business nearby. I've had a few ideas like that I've kind of thrown out to people in the past too. It always sounds
a little
great
bit
on
Hubble-ish.
paper. Yeah, it sounds great on paper, but it's much more complicated to develop. But more power to them if they can. There was an app called Gifter that somebody suggested, a way for people to pitch in to buy group gifts for other people. Once again, I think I've heard of 3 or 4 other apps that kind of do this already.
I've heard of ones that's like, to do like a Secret Santa, you can suggest gifts. I've seen that one, and I've seen ones to I don't know, suggest what I want people to buy me.
Right.
But to have one that all pitch in to buy a one group gift, I haven't seen those too many.
We developed something like that at Conestoga College a couple of years ago called App Raiser, where you were able to raise money as a group for whatever you wanted, right?
Right.
And there were several of those out there. It wasn't just for a little gift. It was more for something
for
that's
a cause
happening.
or something.
A cause or something like that.
Sure.
But, then we had The Pro in Me. And this is LinkedIn for amateur sports.
Yeah, the idea that you can track your own stats and see how your team, follow how your team is doing, get kind of your own baseball card or something.
Yeah, have your own sort of amateur profile or sports profile, which was an interesting concept.
Sure. There was one about, I think it was called Playtime, about renting out your computer to other people.
For gaming?
If you have a powerful computer. As he was saying that, I thought to myself, my computer probably does sit idle for much more time than I'm actually using it throughout the day. It would make sense. I just don't know logistically how you're actually going to.
Well, you think about it. There's all of those internet cafes. They're not really used a lot in this part of the world, but in cities where there's traveling, that happens.
Sure.
Actually, there is one in Guelph.
And
it's used for that kind of reason. So there's security ways to handle that.
Well, yeah, and there's always a business opportunity if you have an item that only gets used for like a small portion of the day, right? Yeah. That's why we have like car sharing things going on right now, because you're not
I should be renting out my fridge, is what you're saying?
Potentially, if you got space.
That one kind of missed for me as a gamer. I am never without the ability to play a game.
Fair enough.
It's kind of like that's what I do. It's like, are you a quadcopter pilot? Well, here's a remote control. Like, no, I have that. You know what I mean? So I don't know that he's going to hit a sweet spot with his market, because like even my kids, they all have that already. They have the best computers, and they can play all the games. So
I did hear just about the sharing space. I heard about another app that was about renting out your own storage space. So if you have a shed in your backyard, and
store some dead bodies in it.
You could rent it out as storage space to somebody else, right? But anyway, let's keep going.
Speaking of renting out your storage space, Negotiate Your Home was a bidding software sort of based in the Chinese market. Was that?
Well, I think it was based on the idea of the Chinese market, where there's a lot more negotiation that goes on over in China or India or the Middle East and these other places.
Yeah, for bidding.
I think the idea there was it was going to collect market data on the sale prices of homes nearby, and then you could use that as a negotiation point for when you're selling your own home.
So bid more intelligently, kind of.
Yeah, there's a lot of data floating around out there already. If people can harness it and make use of it, great. I wouldn't be surprised if there is something like that out there already, but anyway.
Darren, help me.
Yep.
Fashion.
Right. I thought this was cool. So an app to help you find matching clothing items. Now, I think more in terms of women than men when it comes to dealing with fashion issues, simply because I don't actually care about my fashion that much.
Right, and that's probably the exact person that needs it.
I wonder,
So to say what shoes go with those pants,
yeah,
I'm not good at that either, but I feel like a great market would be men.
Okay.
You would need to know.
For men who are very poor dressers, I guess. For me, I throw on jeans and a T-shirt, and typically those always match somehow, right?
Yeah, that pitch for me completely missed because I don't understand it. She went to 30 stores to find one pair of shoes. That's insanity.
But I can understand.
How is an app going to help?
I could understand a woman who's buying a dress for a special occasion,
right,
and needs to accessorize it and doesn't want to spend hours and hours and hours or even days searching for the shoes or the matching purse or whatever. I know I'm sounding stereotypical here, but I'm going on the experience of my wife and my mom, who are the two women I've spent most of the time with in my life, probably. But so things like that, absolutely, I could see some potential.
Then we had something similar called the Suave Closet.
Yep.
And I realized that I have a lot of trouble spelling the word suave as I wrote that down.
Fair enough. The Suave Closet was an app to help you kind of track the clothing you have already and put together, outfits that are appropriate for your day or your event or whatever it is. I just remarked to Amaris, I think I saw an app like that on that movie Clueless.
Which was embarrassing for Darren to acknowledge that he's seen Clueless so much that he remembers the software on it.
I can acknowledge I've seen Clueless. I can also acknowledge I might have owned a DVD of Bring It On at one point as well.
I don't know what you're talking
enough
about
my dirty laundry. What's your thing? We're talking about you guys right now on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yours is the Guelph Bike Share.
Yes.
You've got 3 dots.
3 votes so far. Are those your own votes or?
Yeah, they're all mine.
Excellent. Well, we have no dots to share with you. You gotta share around.
Yeah,
man.
we don't have.
Talk to the other people.
Since you guys were the tech crowd, saying that we might be going full cloud with this.
Excellent.
Nice.
All right.
Yes.
Store all of our bikes
In the cloud.
You're gonna store all your bikes
Bike
in the
share
cloud.
in the cloud. I haven't heard
That's
that before.
amazing.
It's truly innovative.
That might
That's
be
excellent,
catchy.
man.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, no
Good luck,
problem.
man.
Let's
Good luck.
let's throw it a few. There's a few more that got mentioned really.
So
quick
I only
here.
have 2 more. Yeah,
Yep.
that gentleman also did Oratorium, which was
Right.
public speaking review.
Well, and it wasn't his idea. It was from last year's Startup Weekend Guelph.
Yeah,
And,
do you
and it
remember
never
hearing that
got produced, I guess.
I don't remember
right?
hearing it.
Didn't
but-
stick out for you?
You
no,
know-
and then that's probably the reason no one worked on it.
Right, so it was
Well,
winter.
and I think I leaned over to Amaris when he's pitched that and said, I think that's YouTube, right? You put up a video of yourself talking, and then you get all kinds of comments of people telling you how you suck. So I think we might have something like that already.
The last one we heard was a gentleman that had several ideas. He seemed like an idea generator that needed pretty much the full team.
Sure.
He was looking for a developer, designer, and sort of biz develop.
Yep.
And he was doing something called Total Cost. I think this was his second or third idea.
Yeah, it was something that
Food cost app.
It sounds like he wanted to use a mobile app, like a barcode scanner, to index literally every item in every single grocery store around you.
Yep.
And then you could
Ads.
price check and compare metrics between products sold at one store to another. You know,
It's a lot of work.
the functionality is great if you could do all of that comparison and have all that data, but
to
man,
keep
I
on-
can't imagine collecting all that data.
To keep on top of all of the products that's there and the changing
No.
prices of everything in the grocery store.
You'd have to have the stores themselves collaborating with you and getting them on board and releasing that data openly for other competitors to have.
Yeah, I can't
think is
imagine the
unrealistic.
big players aren't working on this already. It's such a common theme from everyone here, my wife, myself. Everybody eats. It's a huge target market.
There's
What,
a
we
lot.
all
some-
eat?
There's some,
That's
there's
amazing.
some disruption going to be happening.
Yeah, I have a
soon, I think.
food-based idea myself. I didn't pitch it tonight because I'm recording a podcast, but
So let's
I
go
think
with-
there's a lot to be done in food, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
Here. Yeah.
So I think the voting is about to end.
Yep.
Let's see what the results are.
Sounds good.
So they've identified some of the best ones, or the most popular, I guess.
The most popular.
We
Yep.
have 8 or 9 up there now.
Yep. And hopefully we're gonna have 8-ish by the end of the voting process, and
We've
we'll
had
see
a couple
what
that have
happens.
sort of
Combined.
commingled or combined.
I think
or
the clothing people came together to work on the same team.
they still have Suave in their title, which is
Yeah.
a challenge for me.
Of
But,
course.
And the food people, there were 3
haven't-
separate food ideas.
They haven't combined. Based
No.
on what he's writing right there, they have not combined. The food
Newsflash,
ones-
Darren, they have not combined.
Oh,
Yes.
the food people have not combined. The clothing
Food-
people have.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
wait,
Who
wait.
did you guys like? What
He
were
did.
your,
They never mind.
oh,
false
they-
reporting?
yeah, it's all good. You're getting the live updates as we watch
Yes.
somebody type into a PowerPoint slide here, folks. It's pretty exciting stuff.
So I'll jump out first. I'll tell you that I was really impressed with the high school student with Clean Scent, the
plant-based essential oils that combat
fight bacteria
and
kind
stuff.
of stuff. Yeah, that was interesting to me.
I thought that was amazing. Yeah.
If I understood it better, I think I would be more excited about it. But I don't really get it. But she sounds super smart, and I hope that means that it's a good idea.
Is that kind of like how you vote for the political process? I really like Trudeau's hair, so I'm going with Trudeau.
No, I'm going to be like, I don't understand that guy, but he sounds super smart.
Yeah,
Let's make him run the country.
Yeah, she did look really smart.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. My question about that is that possible to do in a startup weekend? That's a pretty big idea. She's talking a lot about
scientific
chemistry stuff that needs to happen.
Yeah.
So do you approve it, or you just say this is what we're going to do? And
It's a great idea, but that might be something you work on at an accelerator center.
Yeah. You might just have a website by the end of the weekend or something, I guess.
Yeah.
The second one that I really liked was the combat suit. Just because I'd never heard of that before. Kind of like a fencing thing, I guess. Like fencing has some sensors in it, I would imagine.
Sure.
Yes, it does. Yep.
So that seems kind of neat.
Once again, another idea that is cool sounding, but how much can you do in a weekend on it? I don't know.
We do have Jason from Red Tree Robotics here. He might be able to help with some wiring of the suit.
That's true. That's true, especially if they want to add like video broadcasting capabilities
to see the punch coming at you, the five-finger death punch.
That's right.
The third one that I liked was the pro in me, sort of the LinkedIn and the amateur sports. The you're not a professional, but you can network with the other guys in the second league across the province, or and get yourself out there professionally as a
amateur sports
baseball
tinkerer,
player.
Yeah. See, I don't play any sports. I used to play soccer as a kid, but I
Do you
I
still
don't
want a sports
know.
profile, though?
No.
You could have your own Darren hockey card.
I think all it would show is how badly I suck compared to all the other people who are much, much better than me. And
like you're holding the stick wrong and stuff in your picture.
Yeah, like I would go on there thinking, I think I'm pretty decent at this sport, and then when I look at the data, I'd be like, apparently I'm totally awful.
I'm learning so many things about you guys this weekend already. It's great.
There's so much overshare going on.
Yeah, it's really great.
On and off of the mic. Anyway.
Yes, Darren lost a Twitter battle, I think, earlier.
Two Twitter battles.
I wouldn't say I lost.
Yeah, you did.
I would say that I was a gentlemanly opponent towards
you weren't.
Our wonderful co-host who I'm going easy on this evening.
An interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting way to put it.
Yeah, I liked
Anybody, who else jumped out for you guys?
I liked the clothing one simply because I don't like having to make decisions about clothing. I think anything that makes that better or easier for me. When I was a kid, my mom made all my clothing decisions. See, there's another overshare. And as a married adult, my wife generally makes my clothing decisions.
Sure.
Wow.
And if I could have an app that could optimize that whole process and take it out of my wife's hands, I can't say put it into my own, but put it into the hands of artificial intelligence, I would be a very happy man.
I do want to put out there that Darren is wearing jeans and a black T-shirt today.
And if we want even more overshare tonight, I can say I have a rip in these jeans in a very
inconspicuous spot, or very
I'm
conspicuous?
hoping it's inconspicuous. I'm hoping it's inconspicuous.
So
I know about
Amaris is probably not coming back on Sunday.
Amaris, tell us what you liked about these pitches.
And are you aware
And
of
try
Darren's ripped
not
jeans?
to think of my ripped jeans.
I can tell where the spot is in his pants because his hands are there.
Of course. I got to cover my shame.
The ideas that I really like, I do like the clothing one. Again, I'm wondering, is that even feasible? Like, can you do that? Can you create algorithms that say that color goes with that? I don't know if that's.
It's
a
such
good
a personal
question.
choice, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and like color fine, but what about shape and?
Maybe it's something where
People-
you crowdsource it from people, right?
Yeah.
The sharing economy for my shoes.
Well, not sharing economy as much as, opinions. The sharing economy of opinions, maybe. Do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff.
So it's like the Reddit for clothes. Vote up my outfit today, or vote it down.
Oh,
or
that is-
recommend or whatever. Like if somebody could send you a link to like
Then
buy
it's going
this
to
shoe.
become like a hot or not situation.
Right.
And that's not good for anyone's ego.
That's true.
Well, it's good for some people's egos, but they're
It's
just
good for the hot people. As always, the hot people come out on top, and we mediocre folks are stuck slodging it out at the
The
bottom.
The one team that really I like their idea, and I don't know if anyone else liked their idea, but I find that actually in my job a lot was the JM Solutions.
Oh, the 2-hour intimate.
Well, the way they pitched it was not necessarily how I would pitch it, but I get what they were talking about is that
connecting professionals with students.
Connecting professional students and giving them, and at the beginning stages of their student life, giving them actual advice about how to get into their career. And I find I'm actually doing that a lot through my HackerNest connections. I'm meeting a lot of students and having to coach them into what is the right thing you should be doing, or how to actually approach your career, and what do you actually want to do. So I think they had the right idea. I mean, I have a geography degree, and that doesn't get a lot of jobs unless you do more school.
Right. I have a linguistics degree, so I feel like we're almost in the same.
I have a recreation degree, too.
Oh,
so
cool.
That's pretty cool.
So you're pretty good at Frisbee, then.
Recreational
I'm
geography?
good at planning Frisbee.
Right.
And I do plan Frisbee. Every other Thursday, Ultimate Frisbee.
There
Do
you
you
go.
really?
What a segue.
Ultimate Frisbee, like Tech Ultimate, yeah.
We're learning so much about you tonight,
No,
too,
it's
Amaris.
basically all you know is I run events, which is true. That's all I do.
Yeah, sure.
But I think
fair
what their idea, if they could hone it properly, if anyone backed it, actually has value. I don't know if it's a great business, but it's a great thing that's definitely needed. I wish schools did it.
Yeah, it's almost like a not as much mentorship, but almost like a big brother, big sister kind of a thing where you're
Professionally
coaching.
speaking.
yeah, professionally speaking.
Yeah.
So you can get in ins and outs of the business. It's not a job interview or anything like co-op.
Sure.
It's just sort of that helpful advice. That'd be really.
You know, the other one I didn't mention or maybe I did mention earlier in the podcast is I really do want some sort of app like that one that was pitched that tells you what the daily specials are for food and stuff in that area. Like, when I walk into a restaurant, I want to know, okay, I'm here on a Tuesday, what do they have on special on Tuesday for lunch? And I'd like to find that information out without having to walk into that place of business. Often that stuff's not published on the website, right? Often that stuff is impossible to find through a Google search.
Right.
And I want it locally filtered. I want it like within
how are
a
you gonna monetize
10-minute
that?
walk.
Twitter.
Well,
So all I'm going to say is
there
Twitter.
are ways to do it. Okay, but how do you sort through the sea of information in Twitter?
Well,
to
there
find that?
are a ton of apps that do that already, or have tried that. So maybe the fact that they're not doing that anymore suggests something. So you can look at Foursquare, which is no longer really Foursquare. That's now
Right.
Swarm.
Right.
That's kind of the one. There will be companies that post their specials or perks that are for users, but Twitter definitely, and Facebook. If you like a restaurant, you're following them on Facebook, you're going to look at them.
Yeah.
But I don't
Hashtag,
want to
fried
have to
pickle
find
spears.
them first. I want
You just
even
want to know
restaurants-
what's on special anywhere in the city.
And anywhere within a certain radius of where I am right now. So
'Cause
within a 10-minute walk of where I am right now, there's like a poutine special over here, and there's like a pulled pork special over there, and I like the sound of that one, so I'm going to go there now.
Do people really go to restaurants because of the specials? I feel like that's kind of an old man thing.
So that's coming up on.
I'm
TSP
40
Weekly.
years old, so I think I've entered into that zone.
Yes, congratulations,
Yeah,
you made it.
thanks.
We're going to be talking to guys from the Velocity garage called Yummer.
Right.
And James, and he is developing an app that is recipe focused. So it's just that. I want to go eat Caesar salad tonight. So you type in Caesar salad, it says these are the 3 restaurants that have it. So it's more food-based
I need
than
that.
restaurant-based. Does that make sense?
Find
I
a restaurant,
need
buy
that.
food.
Right. I want
rather
to
than
eat
find a
fried pickle spears tonight.
Right.
And it'll show you, here's where you can get them within 5 miles of you.
Very cool.
I don't know if the price is located, if
He's
it's
in
like
the
a happy
garage?
hour thing, but
That's
yeah.
in the garage.
Velocity Garage. When are we talking to him? I think like 3 weeks from now. or
I've made a
something?
mistake several times, and he keeps getting bumped back.
We got to rebook him.
Yes, so I
Okay.
apologize again, James. But,
Sometime in
we
the
will
next
get to
month,
you.
hopefully. Yeah, we'll have him on board.
Yeah, I'm looking
fair
forward to that.
enough.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah,
And like it's such a pain point. A lot of people talked about it tonight. Not the restaurant side, but the food side, right?
sure.
So
Well, lots of good ideas floating around here tonight, guys, and it looks like the teams are coming together here as we've been talking, which is
slowly
great.
forming, yeah.
So maybe I'll just reiterate at this point that this is probably the last time you're going to hear me on the podcast for the Startup Weekend because things are about to kind of wrap up for the evening, and Stephen
Unless
and
you hear
Amaris
about
are
a
going to take
battleship
over.
that gets sank in the
Yeah.
next 24 hours.
Hopefully that won't happen, but yes. So
North
we'll
Korea's
let.
not planning any Canadian Hamilton attacks, I don't believe.
Not that I've heard of
Yeah,
yet,
good.
so fair enough. But you probably flagged our podcast now for like
Terrorism?
NSA to be listening in and
I'm
recording
going to go
the
ahead and say
conversation.
that NSA is not listening to your podcast. Sorry, guys.
You know, we can always dream that we're important. Anyway, so Stephen and Amaris are going to be your hosts for the rest of this episode, and hopefully we'll hear some awesome things on Sunday about how things develop and how the competition goes.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. So we will be back on Sunday once the teams have gelled a bit and have something to talk to us about. They haven't even met each other yet, so it's hard to ask them any questions about their development so far.
Yeah, we'll see how things go later on. Sounds great.
Amaris, any parting shots?
No.
There it is.
Perfect.
We'll see you on Sunday.
All right.
I actually left Igloo for a while and came back because you get the sense of family, the sense of working as a team.
It's a really inspiring place to work. People can be who they are when they're in the building, and we're all working together for a common goal.
It gets a little crazy at times.
I have a very, very large collection of rubber ducks. My first day, out of nowhere, I just got shot by so many Nerf guns. I mean, we get beer every other Friday. There's nothing wrong with that.
You could be here for a few weeks, but if you have a great idea and we think it'll work, we'll run with it.
Where you can go forward and pursue your own dreams.
They're empowered to do their job. Our culture is all about team.
It's really great, and it's something that you kind of strive for in a company.
If you have a great idea, we're going to implement it. That's why people love working here.
Igloo! Did you get that?
All right, so welcome back. It's Sunday afternoon. We are at the Guelph Startup Weekend, and we're here with MJ and Amaris. Mm-hmm. My name's Stephen. MJ, tell us a little bit about what we've missed in the last sort of 24 hours. What happened yesterday?
Yesterday was a lot of heads down working, but before they got to that stage, we pushed them all out of the building to do a bit of validation. So take their very early stage ideas, go talk to people, find out, are they on track, off track, what do they need to change? Are there major changes to the business model itself or tweaks to the idea, that sort of thing. The groups came back late afternoon, definitely tired, had some dinner, and then really started to look at what their MVP would look like. And so the developers on the team started to take, all of that feedback, incorporate it into the MVP, and then start building that last night. And that continues this morning and pitch decks this morning. And now the stress of pitch preparation and 30 minutes away from actually pitching.
Seeing the whole weekend come to a head. Mm-hmm. MJ, I apologize. I didn't introduce yourself. You are MJ McLaughlin. You own the library. Is that correct?
Pretty much. No. So I'm MJ D'Elia. I work in the library. My office is, of course, just a couple of steps from where we're hosting this startup weekend. My role here in the library is mostly to oversee all of the academic support we provide to students through the library, research, writing, studying, all of that. But I'm involved in Startup Weekend because I'm the instructor for the intro entrepreneurship class. So I take 60 business students, fourth year students through essentially a startup weekend, but over the course of 12 weeks. And then it concludes in an event that's a little more like Dragon's Den. So they have to pitch to Guelph alumni, and they have a lot of fun, and they get stressed, same as you see right here.
Yep. A little bit of chicken running around with its head cut off at this point.
Yes, definitely.
Did anybody sleep in the office last night, or did you actually make it home?
I made it home. Everyone made it home, and part of that is because the library has an absolutely atrocious buzzer right before it closes. And the rumor is that's to wake people up who have fallen asleep while they're studying, and it is very loud as a fire alarm.
Yes, it was quite surprising Friday to hear that. I'm glad it wasn't the 10-second warning bell for the pitches.
Yes.
Because that.
And of course, I don't hear that buzzer because I'm always working, or I'm working normal hours. I'm not here till 2 a.m. So
MJ, you've participated in a couple other startup weekends. Can you tell us a little bit about those? Was it Toronto, you said? Or?
So when I started teaching, I realized I'm asking my students to pitch and go through a process that I haven't done myself. And I, at the time, had stumbled upon Startup Weekend, the website, looked around, and Toronto was coming up. So I just signed up and went and experienced it, a much bigger event and more mature scene than Guelph. But this crash course was amazing. I actually ended up making the final pitch for our idea. We crashed and burned, and it was like very humbling experience.
So you failed fast.
So we failed fast. And I don't typically get nervous anymore since I'm speaking to groups all the time, but I was very nervous that day, which was a good reminder of how challenging this is for my students in my class, but also here.
Why do you think that was? Is it because it was a piece of yourself in it instead of delivering sort of lecture material?
Actually, you know what I think it was? It was because I was part of the team, so I was trying to represent what the 6 of us had worked on for 54 hours.
Right.
And represent it well, and yet not know all of the questions the judges were going to ask. And so but I was pitching with someone else on the team, and we both misunderstood one of the questions. And after that, you just feel terrible, right? Mm-hmm. And your group, they were very supportive, but you could tell they were like, no, that's not the answer we should have given. And like, what are you going to do, right? So after that event, I got together with some librarians, and we planned a library event in Toronto. So we did a library-themed startup weekend using some of the Toronto resources, and we did it at Mozilla at their community space. And so it was the first ever EDU or education version of Startup Weekend, specifically for libraries. So it was a lot of fun. It's more like this, smaller event. Yeah.
And what's your impression today so far? Do we have any sort of runaway leaders that you've seen, or any teams that are going to be really hard to beat, or is it fairly even?
My impression, I tried to actually be very hands-off yesterday because we had mentors here, and they were working and sorting through. And I remember as a participant sometimes feeling like the mentors came by at the wrong time, and we had to stop everything to have that conversation, and we lost a bit of momentum. So I tried to stay hands-off. My impression this morning, though, is they are pretty much even. I think, as always, the pitch is the thing that's going to come, going to be the differentiator, right? The ideas themselves in 54 hours aren't vastly differentiated in terms of quality, but I think if you can pitch your concept really well, you're probably going to be in one of the top spots.
Right. So now it comes down to communication.
Communication, right? And it always does. Because even if you have a brilliant product that does all of these things, but you can't tell people what it is or how it works, or even communicate a value proposition in a straightforward way, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we saw some of the sort of pitch practicing happening, and one team obviously didn't have sort of the verbal ninja on the team. So
I like that.
You and I spoke a little bit about the idea of focusing a little less on the idea or the business, the entrepreneurship $1 million Hail Mary, and more on sort of building a better team. What do you think of that kind of concept, or how does that play into 54 hours? How do you...
Yeah, I think for a pitch, the idea is still central. What the typical problem is they're trying to cram everything they did in 54 hours into that 5 minutes, so you can sort of prove by sheer weight of content.
Look at how hard we worked.
Exactly. And and it doesn't really matter. Really what matters is, have you picked the salient points that actually communicate, the real vision.
How much is weighted towards the pitch? Is there sort of a scale of how much is contributed towards the actual pitch and the idea, or?
I think, what's the rubric?
Yeah, that's a great question, considering I work in a university.
Yeah.
It varies. I think each judge has a slightly different interpretation, but typically it's around ideas that are successful have done a good job proving that they've validated it. So they've shown that they've done their homework. So rather than just talk to two people, they actually went out and got enough data. So validation's sort of key. If you can demo a prototype of any sort, that's always a big win. So there's going to be some part of the rubric associated with what you actually built. And then the other part is really just communicating that core business idea, and then the judges interpreting whether that value proposition makes sense to them. There's not a lot in terms of, the details of your, financial plan. Like, I heard some of the groups getting really focused on some of their expenses, and I was like, they're never going to ask about that.
Right.
They want the concept. They know every business has legal costs, right? So don't even worry about that.
Yeah. And so some of that, I guess, is the process of going through that yourself.
Yes.
That's what we get out of this weekend. It's not all about the judging.
Definitely.
But it certainly is at this point, with an hour left to go, or less than an hour left to go. There's no question.
11 minutes.
Dun, dun, dun.
11 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Well, MJ, thanks very much for spending a couple minutes with us here on TSP Weekly and chatting with us about the Guelph Startup Weekend. Can't wait to see the pitches here in a minute.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Well, there it is. It's over. The Startup Weekend Guelph has completed. We have a first, second, third place, and did not place.
Yes, yeah, that's the sad thing with 4 teams.
Yes, 4 teams and 3 winners. So, John, thank you very much. Appreciate it, man. Nice seeing you again.
See ya.
So the winner today, Moody Foodie.
Yeah, Moody Foodie.
Took the second annual Guelph Startup Weekend
prize.
First place prize. Second place, we had Yup Connections, or the Young Urban Professionals. And then bringing in the rear was My Closet at first place, which is maybe not the best way to describe
Bringing in the rear, my
Bringing in
closet.
the rear. What did you think? Was that how you had them ranked? Amaris,
I would say that would be roughly how I had them ranked. I don't know about how much money or how viable they are as money makers. All of them. I'd say the one that really made sense to make money was probably Yup, because it was something people are more likely to pay for. There's a bajillion websites out there.
Right.
We know that, so it's kind of hard to say you're going to get money just off ads to support a whole website. It happens, it does, but they're both entering, My Closet and Moody Foodie is entering into a very saturated market. Yes, there's slight differences, but it's hard to say they're going to make enough money to be viable.
Yeah, nothing's really unique for sure.
Yep.
Although I do like the sort of the emotional eating.
Yeah, for sure.
That is kind of unique. So, and I often find that in these 54 hours, the monetization is something that they have to kind of tweak and pivot on anyway.
Yeah.
As they get a little closer to more customer feedback.
Well,
and
and we saw that the fact that they were down to 4 companies when we walked in, and I think when we left on Friday, they were 6 or 7 companies.
Yeah, we had heard like 15 ideas. So
yeah, so clearly something happened on Saturday that we missed, and that was a lot of whittling down ideas and pivoting.
Yeah.
Some teams joining up.
Yeah, I guess we from some general attrition, we lost 3 people out of the sort of 30 or 35 we started with. So the teams did get a little bigger at the end. So it was a really a neat event. I think there was some good energy here in Guelph. I would have liked to see maybe a couple more teams pitch at the very end, but I think they were pretty solid ideas that did come out. It wasn't really fluffy.
They were good pitches for sure.
Yeah.
The energy that was involved in the pitches, especially Yups, was very full energy.
Yeah.
So that was good. They all loved what they were doing for sure.
Yeah.
Backed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun.
So overall, a great time. I think Michael did a good job as the organizer. He's heading back to Seattle now. Facilitator.
He's the facilitator.
Thanks to Aaron and his team for volunteering and setting all this up. And thanks to the sponsors.
Yeah.
And thanks to you, Amaris, for
thank
coming in
you.
over the weekend and helping us out.
Coming back to my alma mater.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
So look for us on Twitter, on the web. I don't have the usual spiel that Darren ends with. But
what's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is SirS_Campbell.
Not you.
Or
the podcast.
at TSP Weekly. What's your Twitter handle?
At Amaris_G.
I like it. So give us some feedback. This should be, we'll put this podcast up here shortly. And had a good time.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
That's it. Thank you.
Goodbye.